Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I welcome you all in your English class. So today we are going to start our literary terms. Why it is important to know about the literary terms before starting the poems, as far as your examination point of view is concerned. For your objective portion, definitely it is very much necessary to know about the techniques used by the poet. On the other hand, we must know that what are the techniques and what type of poem the poet is narrating. It is a simple verse, a free verse, which tone he is using, and what are the embellishments he is using as well. What are the embellishments? That all the literary devices. So in order to critically analyze these things, especially the poetry, it is very much necessary that we must know about these terms, literary terms. So why it is important? Before we are proceeding, it is very much important to know about the techniques used by the poet, style, formatting, and especially emphasizing and embellishments that the poet would be using in any poetry. So let's start. Whenever you are going to write any critical appreciation, these all things will help you a lot to know about the techniques used by the poet. On the other hand, for your objective portion, definitely it will be as well helpful. So let's start. We'll start from the simile. A simile is a figure of speech that directly compares two unlike things. To make the comparison, simile often use the connecting words like or as, but it can also use other words that indicate an explicit comparison. So what is a simile? A simile is a thing that will compare to unlike thing. It will be clear from the definition, and we make a comparison that this thing could be like that thing. Okay, and most of the time in simile we do use the in order to compare the two things. We use like or as, such as we can say as white as snow. Okay, these are the very two different things, but they have some same characteristics because of the color. It is an explicit comparison, direct comparison, very vivid and clear comparison, such as Roosevelt's line. What does he say? A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she gets in hot water. So there are that very different comparison that is being done by the writer. That is it's the comparison between two unlike things. There, on the one hand there is a woman, on the other hand it's a tea bag. So until as it is an example as simile. Roosevelt compared two unlike things, women and tea bag, to describe how women reveal the full extent of their strength in tough situations. Okay, so when someone is in hot water mean in any difficulty. If we are going to talk about in a proverbial form, so it means for the tea bag definitely the situation will be different, but for the humans it will be totally different. For the female it will be totally different. So it is narrated that when any woman is going to face difficulties in the life, her strength or is going to be revealed, right? So there it is, the comparison is made. It is as vivid, it is as clear as, it is crystal clear, or it is as you can say he is as innocent as dove. So these are all the words that words that we use to compare the things. Okay, so in order to compare the things, what are the two important elements? Number one, the poet may use as or like. On the other hand, he may narrate the thing by just by using other thing, but what is more appropriate thing, or what is more appropriate, you can say the words they are using, that is as and like. Okay, so you while reading your poetry, you will observe that there are many examples that are being used by the poet for for making comparison. Okay, they will be using many examples where they are going to compare the thing by just comparing the thing by just using the literary term, that is simile. Okay, now let's come forward. On the other hand, what is a metaphor? A metaphor is a direct and vivid comparison between two things usually considered distinct or unrelated. Metaphor discovers the connection between unique things and emphasizes their similarities politically without being taken literally. Okay, so what is a metaphor? Metaphor is no again comparison, but it is considered as a distinct and unrelated. It discovers the connection between unique things and emphasizes their similarity politically without being taken literally. So it just compares the similarities of the two things. Okay, on the one hand, we have said that in simile, what we are going to observe, that there are the two things that are the comparison is there. We are going to compare two unlike things. Okay, because of this the qualities. But on the other hand, what is in the metaphor? In metaphor, we are going to compare the thing, but it is the comparison is in fact very distinct and different. So here are a few examples of metaphor. Her smile is the sun. He is the black sheep. Okay, what are you going to do? You are going to underline these sentences. I will share some sentences with you, and you will identify where we have used simile and where it is metaphor. So he says here smile is the sun. Okay, what is the quality of the sun? Yes, the sun is bright, the sun is shining, the sun gives the life. So here the poet want to say that her smile is the sun. If we will say that she smiled, her smile was as bright as daylight, or her smile was as pleasant as sunlight, so it was a simile. But on the other hand, when we have said that her smile is the sun mean number one thing is that we haven't choose what is the comparison, that we haven't choose any of the you can say the word like and as. On the other hand, what we have done, we have given an attribute, we have described an attribute in an indirect way. Okay, so he is a black sheep. Black sheep mean he is a black sheep. A black sheep is a proverb. It's a proverb that is used for any person who is corrupt. So he is a black sheep. It is a metaphor, and it is being here the characteristic of that person are being compared with the corruption the characteristics and the corruption of that person is compared with that black sheep that spoils the whole flock. All the words is a stage. As like a stage, we have to perform better as in stage all the people get their turn, so same is the case with the world, that all the world is a stage. Okay, we have to act like as we are on a stage. So metaphor is in fact there, we are not going to get any of the you can say comparison by like or as, but here we have to find out because of the characteristics of something. When we find out the characteristics of something, then we find that this is the metaphor or us that is used by the poet. Okay, so if we say, so here let's make a clear distinction between simile and metaphor. Okay, if we say that Richard fought like a lion, please write down the sentence. Richard fought like a lion. Second sentence is Richard was a lion in the fight. So what is the difference? On the very first sentences, we made the that comparison of two unlike things, but by using the word like. Okay, Richard fought like a lion. Here it is a simile. But when we just said Richard was a lion in the fight, it means that we are comparing the bravery of Richard with that of lion. We are now using it in the direct way. Okay, the second example is we can say that is the second example for the simile could be that lady is as innocent as dove. Okay, but when we say the lady is innocence, the lady is innocent, it, in her attitude, it means that we are comparing two things to we are just giving her the attributes of being dove, that is very innocent, but we are not making that direct comparison, right? So let me repeat for you that what is a simile and what is the metaphor. Okay, so what is a simile? A simile is a comparison that is made between two objects of different kind which have at least one option in common. Okay, it we introduce simile words by like, as, or so, such as the Aryans came down like a wolf on the fold. Okay, then what is a metaphor? A metaphor is can be explained. A metaphor that shouldn't be identified like simile, but here we have make a different comparison. It's an implied simile. It doesn't use the word like. Okay, it doesn't state the thing by comparing by the introduction of the word like or as, but it has two things, and it compares, metaphor compares the thing in implied simile, such as I have given you the example. The example could be life is a dream. So let's move forward. On the other hand, personification. Let's come towards personification, a figure of speech in which a thing, quality, or idea is represented as a person. So personification means when we just give an attributes of living thing to non-living objects. In personification, in animate object, abstract notion are spoken of as they are having life or intelligence. Okay, so we just give the attributes of living thing to non-living things, such as laughter holding both her sides, death lays his icy hands on kings, lightning danced across the sky, the wind howled in the night. Okay, so what are these are the two examples that has been mentioned in the slide there, but there are two other examples that I have said you, that is laughter holding both her sides, and the next one was that death lays his icy hands on kings. So when we just, death is not a living thing, when we just give that abstract notion the quality of humans or quality of living thing, it means that we are giving the attributions to that inanimate object. Okay, so for that thing we use personification, such as nature, such as when we say death is dancing, that cannot dance. Lightning dance across the sky, lightning cannot dance. We give the attributes of humans to lightning. The wind howling, it is not related, it is related to the animal, to the wolf, but we have just said that the wind was howling, it was as strong. Okay, so let me repeat, in personification we give the quality or idea of any abstract notion as it is having a life or intelligence. Then strophe. What is a strophe? Strophe is a group of words that form a distinct unit within a poem, right? The term is sometimes used as a synonym for stanza. Okay, strophe can be used for the synonym of stanza. Usually it's reference to a pentatonic ode to a poem that doesn't have a regular meter or rhyming pattern, such as a free verse. So what is a strophe? A strophe could be a free verse. A strophe is essentially, it is a synonym of stanza. It is a reference to the pentatonic ode. Okay, what is that? Pentatonic was the name of a person. So it is an ode, it is like a song, old songs that is having several units. We are not more concerned about that thing, but what is our matter of concern, that is that is what is a strophe, that is not having a regular meter or rhyme. Okay, so you must know that what is a strophe. A strophe is not having a regular meter or rhyme. Regular meter or rhyme mean such as when you just do your Urdu poetry, so we just take the clear we just consider the rhythm in the last of the words or meter, right? Kafiya or radif, that is called. ठीक है, तो when it is not in that way, it is strophe. Okay, having the free verse. In ancient Greek drama, the strophe was the first part of the choral ode that was performed by the chorus while it moved by from one side of the stage to the other. If you could remember the classical English movies or previous some Greek myths or some tragedies by Shakespeare, we can just know that there was a chorus song, or on the stage they do perform, they do just sing something and they move from one place to another place, a lyric by just reciting some lyrical ode or lyrical poems, long one, and two followed by a short one. Okay, so the just strophe was followed by an antistrophe of the same metrical structure performed while the chorus reverses its movement, and by an epoch of different structure that was chanted as the chorus stood still. Okay, so what is our main concern? Our main concern is that what is a strophe, but how in the ancient time, how especially on the Greek stage, how strophe was used. There are three things that you must remember. Number one is that it could be as the synonym of stanza. Number two is that it is not having a regular meter and rhythm, and it could be like a free verse. And what is more important, that in the ancient Greek or dramas or on the stage, it was having that it started from it was like a lyric epoch, it was like a lyrical poem. A big verse is followed by a short one. Okay, a big verse in an epoch, a big verse is followed by the short one. It is lyrical ode, and it following the strophe and antistrophe, and composing with them a triadic unit. It is not concerned in fact with you, but in order to just give you the info that it starts with the long verse and followed the short one. Okay, I mean, it is having a different structure. It could start from the long verse till it go to the short verse as well, but it is a free verse, that is a strophe. Then in literature, an allusion is an unexplained reference to someone or something outside the text. Writer commonly allude to the literary works, famous individual, historical events, or philosophical ideas, as to so in order to layer association and meaning from these sources onto their own work. So, what is an allusion? An allusion is in fact a reference to some historical some historical event. Okay, it could be historical event, it could be a biblical reference, right? So these are in fact the references that the writer used in order to make in order to give his or her text an authenticity, right? They may narrate some incident from the history, they may just narrate, and they may just quote any name from the history, or they may just give any biblical reference. That would be an allusion. So what is the purpose in order to layer association? I mean, if we want to talk as such as in your poem, the September the 1st, an allusion is given, biblical reference is given by the poet, that is the dream of Joseph as well. Okay, so this was an allusion. So in order to give the association of the character to that and particular character, it is being used. Then couplet refers to two lines of poetry, you know it very well, that follows each other in rhythm. Couplets also sometimes have the same meter, meaning the same number of beats and same rhythm. Again we are talking about, and that radif and kafiya, and then musical rhythmic tone, and that is being associated at the end of by the end of every word in the verse. Example of couplet: when spring comes round with her magical wand and waves it over field and pond. I saw a little bluebird, I didn't even say a word. Word. Little boy blue, come blow your horn. The sheep in the meadow, the cow in the corn. Corn. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Fall. So what we are saying that it could be like, most of the time, couplet number one, it's a two line poetry and it follows each other rhyme, okay, such as Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, Humpty Dumpty had a fall. It has sometime having the same meter, meaning the same number of beats and the same rhythm, such as little blue boy blue, come blow your horn. The sheep is in the meadow, the cow is in the corn. Corn. So the couplet is two line words. On the other hand, it is having the same beat and same rhythm. Okay, the tercet is composed of 3 lines poetry forming a stanza or a complete poem. This is 3 line stanza. Coal-fired chimney reaching up so high. Even though the solar power is free, you would think we would learn as the time goes speeding by. Right? So these are the 3 lines that is about the tercet having this 3 line poetry. And quatrain is a type of stanza or complete poem consisting of 4 lines. So you must remember, as we proceed for our poems, these types of stanzas you will be reading. That is tercet. Then it quatrain, that is 4 lines. A verse or a verse of poetry that has 4 lines. The quatrain is typically centered around a theme within a poem. A quatrain typically has a specific pattern to the end rhyme of each line. If the poem has multiple quatrain, the rhyme scheme of one may repeat the others. Okay, 4 lines poetry. Then quintet. It's any poetic form of stanza that contains 5 lines. Quintain poems can contain any line length or meter. Then sestet. So these are the different forms of stanza. Let me repeat it for you. Number 1 is tercet, 3 lines. Number 2 is quatrain, that is 4 line. And then number 3 is that quintain, that is 5 lines. And then sestet, 6 lines. Okay, we just missed the couplet, that is 2 lines. A sestet is a 6 line stanza of the poetry. It can be any 6 line stanza, one that is itself a whole poem, or one that makes a part of a longer poem. Most commonly, the term refers to the final 6 line of a sonnet. 6 lines may be compared by the sonnet as well. In a simple word, it can be a stanza in a poem that has 8 lines and follows a rhythm or unrhythmic meter. So a rhythmic rhyming scheme, what is that? It's a pattern of rhyme to the end of each line of poem or song. It is usually referred to by using letter to indicate which lines rhyme. Lines designed with the same letter are rhyme with each other. An example of AB rhyming scheme from the anthe to who may command him anything by Robert Herrick. Okay, so what is a rhyming scheme? A rhyming scheme you have learned a rhyming scheme where we have given code A, B, C, D to the end of every word that is having the same rhythmic tone. Okay, such as, if bid me to weep, and I will weep, while I have eyes to see, and having none, yet I will keep a heart to weep for thee. Bid me to weep, and I will weep, and having none, yet I will keep. Weep, keep. So what is that having? That indicate the lines that is having the same rhythmic tone. Okay, same rhyming scheme. So with the same letter all rhyme with each other. Okay, so we will allocate for weep and keep A mean code A will be given. On the other hand, while I have eyes to see, a heart to weep for thee, that is C, D, that is B, right? So we have here 4 lines, and in these 4 lines there are rhyming words. There are 2 rhyming words, weep, key, we will allocate A for them, then C, D, B for them, and in such as if we have another example, run fun C. Okay, so C will be allocated for that particular rhyming verse. So that is the rhyming scheme that we just follow. So this was all for today. What was more important, and it was important that you must know what are the literary devices that would be used for the poetry and the techniques. On the other hand, what are the different types of stanzas you are going to read about. So inshallah we will be starting our next poem. Take good care of you. If you have any query, please do ask me. Allah.